fourth graders, back again today with The Tiger Rising, chapters 23 and 24. We're just going to go ahead and get started right off the bat. Question number 1, why does Willie Mae ask Rob, what are you giving me them shifty-eyed looks for? Seems like we've had the word shifty in one of our stories already this year. But I'm going to go ahead and open up to chapter 23. And it's on page 87. Hey there, she said to him. Where's your lady friend at? School, said Rob. But today's only a half a day. He kept his hands in his pockets. Now that he stood before Willie Mae, he was afraid to give her the bird. What if it was wrong? What if he had carved it wrong and it didn't look anything like cricket? What are you giving me them shifty-eyed looks for? Willie Mae asked. I made you something, said Rob quickly, before he lost his nerve. Okay, so why do you think he was giving her those shifty-eyed looks? I'm crooked here. I'm going to fix this a little bit, maybe. I think that he really wanted to give her the carving, but he was kind of nervous about it, and he was just trying to work up the nerve to spit it out. Kind of like what he does with Sistine. He opens his mouth and just has to spit it out. Number 2, later in chapter 23, Willie Mae says, I ain't got to do nothing except stay black and die. What do you think this statement says about her state of mind and her impression of herself? Now, we know that from earlier in the book, we know that Willie Mae doesn't think a whole lot of herself because she told Rob that he needed to stay in school so that he didn't end up like her. So she doesn't have a lot of self-esteem. She doesn't think very highly of herself. So I'm going to go to chapter 23. And I'm going to read on page 88. When he gives her the bird, she still has her eyes closed. And he says, let's see. She closed her fingers around a little piece of wood, but she didn't open her eyes. She puffed on her cigarette. That long gray ash on the end of it trembled. Don't need to look, she finally said. Cigarette ash dropped to the floor. I know what I got in my hand. It's cricket. But you got to look at it and tell me if I did it right, said Rob. I ain't got to do nothing, said Willie Mae, except stay black and die. She opened her eyes slowly as if she was afraid that she might frighten the bird into flying away. So I think that she really is down on herself and she thinks that she's kind of worthless. She says she really don't have to do nothing but stay black and die. That's the only 2 things she's got to do in her life. Moving on to number 3. What benefit did Rob think Willie Mae might enjoy now that she had the carving of the bird? Well, she always dreamt of her bird. She would always dream about it, and I think she really kind of missed having that bird, and she was regretful about what she did, about letting it go. And so I think now that she won't have to dream about it, now that she's got this, of course it's not a real bird, but it's a carving. It reminds her of cricket. When she feels like she wants to think about it, she'll just pull it out. Number 4, in chapter 24, Rob comes to realize why he likes Sistine so much. What is the reason? Okay, so we're going to go to chapter 24. On page 92, it says, Oh, said Sistine, and Rob realized then why he liked Sistine so much. He liked her because when she saw something beautiful, the sound of her voice changed. All the words that she uttered had an oof sound to them, as if she were getting punched in the stomach. The sound was in her voice when she talked about the Sistine Chapel, and when she looked at the things that he carved in wood. It was there when she said the poem about the tiger burning bright, and it was there when she talked about Willie Mae being a prophetess. Her words sounded the way all those things made him feel, as if the world, the real world, had been punched through, so that he could see something wonderful and dazzling on the other side of it. Moving on to number 5. Why was Willie Mae wise not to give a direct answer to Sistine's question about whether she would release a captive animal? Well, as an adult, if you're trying to give advice to a child or even another adult, you want to always get the whole story first. You can't really give good advice until you know everything about the situation, and I think Willie Mae was a little hesitant because she really didn't know exactly what they were talking about just yet. Number 6. This is an opinion question. Do you think that Willie Mae believes Rob and Sistine when she tells them to show her the tiger? That's Miss Stewart calling. Support your answer. So do you think that Willie Mae believes them? And then tell why or why not. Okay, on to the language activities. Onomatopoeia is a literary device where sounds are spelled out as a word, or when words describing sounds actually sound like the sounds that they describe. An example of this from this chapter would be oof, the sound of getting punched in the stomach. It's going to ask you to think of some examples of this literary device. And it's going to give you some things to think about. I want you to think about like a basketball. When a basketball goes through the hoop, I think swoosh. When bacon is frying in the pan, I think like sizzle. Those are onomatopoeia words. And it's going to ask you to give a word for the sound of someone stepping on a grate, the sound of lightning on a dark night, and then you get to pick 2 examples of what you want to give a sound for. And tell me the sound. Okay, the next part is antonyms, synonyms, and homonyms. Now, we reviewed antonyms and synonyms last week, so that should be fresh on your mind. I'm going to include a video on homonyms, and you might want to watch that. I'm going to give you a little quick, a homonym, there's 2 words, and they're spelled exactly the same. And most of the time, they sound the same, but they have different meanings. Like, let me give you for instance. Right, R-I-G-H-T, and right, W-R-I-T-E. R-I-G-H-T means, oh, I'm right, I got the question right. And then W-R-I-T-E means like I'm going to pick up my pen and write. Another example would be like flower and flower, F-L-O-W-E-R, a flower that blooms or grows in the garden. And then flour, F-L-O-U-R, would be the flour that you use to bake a cake with. So, you can watch that video if you need a little more help with that. But you have a list of words. There's only 10. And you're going to write A if the 2 words are antonym, S if the 2 words are synonyms, and H if the 2 words are homonyms.